Hi there, it's Mr. Vini. Today we're talking about the early Middle Ages. And let's start by talking about geography in Europe. Now it's important to understand that most of Europe lies within 300 miles of an ocean or a sea. Also, there was many rivers, and it made it easy to travel in Europe, so these things encouraged trade. Being close to the ocean and being able to get goods inland because of the rivers made it very important for trade and encouraged trade. You also had the mountains and rivers, and this made it difficult for one group of people to rule all of Europe. And that is why today you have so many different countries in Europe. Now let's talk about the Franks for a little bit. The Franks were a Germanic people who were united by Clovis. Clovis became a Catholic, and when he converted to Catholicism, he won the support of the Romans in his kingdom. After Clovis died, powerful nobles took over the government, and there was this person known as the mayor of the palace, and the most famous of those mayors of the palace that became leaders was a guy by the name of Charles Martel, and he's the one that kind of took over the Franks, and then he led them to victory in the Battle of Tours, which helped keep Europe Christian. It kept Christianity alive. Right? He was followed then by Pepin, and Pepin defeated a group called the Lombards, and then that land he gave to the Pope, and that became known as the Papal States. Now the most famous of the Franks was Charlemagne. Charlemagne increased the size of the empire by adding parts of Germany and Spain. The Pope, in order to make it so the Pope remained more powerful than Charlemagne, actually crowned him new Roman Emperor in 800. Charlemagne set up law courts throughout his kingdom, and then he put what were called counts in charge of the courts, and then he'd go around and he'd make sure they were doing what they're supposed to do. But another thing that Charlemagne believed in was education. And he wanted to make sure his people were educated, and he was proud to be one of the few kings of the time that could actually read and write. Let's talk about Europe being invaded. After Charlemagne died, the empire was split into three parts. These parts weren't very strong, and eventually a people from Scandinavia called the Vikings raided Europe. They robbed villages and churches, they conquered part of France called Normandy, and they wreaked all kinds of havoc in Europe. Now we're going to talk about the Holy Roman Empire. And the Holy Roman Empire, basically Germany and a little bit other parts, but Otto I was crowned emperor in 962 by the Pope. This created the Holy Roman Empire, which included most of Germany and northern Italy. With the rulers not being very powerful, Italy and Germany were able to remain divided into these small kingdoms. Where the other countries had united into these powerful countries, Germany and Italy remained individual kingdoms for quite a while. Let's talk a little bit about the rise of the Catholic Church. Monks played a very important role in preserving Roman learning. One of the most famous monks was Gregory the Great. He was also Pope, and he sent missionaries throughout Europe. One of those famous ones was Patrick that went into Ireland. Monasteries. They provided food to people, they provided schools, hospitals, they even helped preserve the learning of the time. Gregory VII was the Pope who wanted to stop nobles and kings from interfering in church affairs. He felt that the politics were getting too involved into the religious thing. So they held what was called a concordat, and this concordat is an agreement between the Pope and the ruler of a country that came to terms and is a truce between the church and the rulers at the time that pretty much said that the church would choose its church officials. Right. So that's just a little bit about the early Middle Ages. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in class.